Intensifying attacks dashing hopes for an end to the war in Ukraine. Ukraine saying it struck a Russian air base today after Russia launched its largest aerial assault on the capital of Kyiv. The attack coming hours after President Trump downplayed hopes of a deal to end the war is near, despite his campaign claims that he would end the conflict on day one.
We've helped a lot of countries. The Ukraine situation, that's a Biden deal. It's not a Trump deal. I'm trying to get it finished off, settled, and we'll see. I don't know. I can't tell you whether or not that's going to happen.
With me now is former Ambassador Michael McFaul, who served as the U.S. Ambassador to Russia. He's now an MSNBC international affairs analyst. Ambassador, as you've been watching what President Trump has been saying openly to the press about his conversation recently with Vladimir Putin, and then this right now on Air Force One, where he's looking at the Biden administration as potentially the fall guy, if you will, for the lack of progress. What is happening, or is nothing happening behind the scenes? What's the readout here that you see?
Well, first, it is not a Biden deal. Putin invaded Ukraine. President Biden didn't. President Biden then provided military resources for the Ukrainians to defend themselves. And now President Trump is threatening to cut that off. In fact, he paused it this week. There's a debate whether they're going to bring it back or not. But the idea that this is Biden's fault is wrong. And if the president decides to cut that military assistance, more Ukrainians will die. And that will be President Trump's fault, not President Biden's fault. Now, with respect to these calls, I think you're hearing in the president his frustration I've had for many months of his conversations with Putin, that Putin's not serious about negotiating the end of this war. He's just waiting for Trump to get disinterested. He thinks time's on his side. And finally, I think the president is beginning to realize that. The question is now, what does he do about it? And in my view, he should increase assistance to Ukraine and increase sanctions on the Russians to show that he's not going to walk away from the Ukrainians.
Ambassador, so you're saying that Vladimir Putin is playing the waiting game again, and that he will, if you will, outlive politically President Trump. Then for President Trump, the question is, in his administration, politically, does it make sense for him to, if you will, spend his political capital to do something big? Do you think that's there, that possibility is there in the next 2 years for this president?
Well, I'd say two things. First of all, the majority of Americans and the majority in both the House and Senate support military assistance to Ukraine. So he doesn't have to use political capital. The American people support Ukraine. By the way, 81% of the American people do not trust Putin. Not many polls in America that you get 81% agreeing. Number two, I hope that the president understands how this makes him look weak, and not just in Ukraine and not just in Europe, but in Asia. If we pull back from the Ukrainians now, there's one group of people watching this very closely, and that's the people of Taiwan. I was just there a couple months ago. They understand that if we pull away and look weak in Europe, that will embolden Xi Jinping. And I hope the president and his team begins to understand that looking weak in one theater makes us look weak all around the world, including in Asia.
30 seconds here, Ambassador. The EU, their response after hearing that the munitions may be stalled from the United States, saying that they will have to try to fill in that gap. Are they going to be able to do that?
I applaud what they're doing. This is a breakthrough in terms of their new industrial capacity. But there's one system, the Patriot system, the anti-missile defense system, that we have that nobody else has and the Ukrainians desperately need. I hope we will reconsider the pause and provide those interceptors because the Ukrainians need them badly.
Former Ambassador Michael McFaul, as always, appreciate your expertise. Thank you.
Thank you.
That will do it for me on this edition of Alex Witt Reports. I'm Richard Louie. Tune in for more of Alex Witt Reports tomorrow, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'll be back in the seat at 3 p.m. in for Alex. And once that news conference on Texas begins in Kerrville, Texas,